Namaste people, I am Anmol Sarkar. So if you guys have seen my introduction video, you guys must have an idea about who I am and what I am trying to do and what this channel is all about. And if you have not seen my video, for Facebook I will be sharing the link in the comment section, and for YouTube in the description below. So please go and watch that video, and without wasting any further time, let's get straight down to today's topic. And don't forget to like and subscribe my channel so I can come up with more such informative videos for you guys. So let's get straight down to today's topic. So if you have seen the last video, you guys must have remembered how I have said that Hudson and Ellis were, and this Campbell were two. Hudson and the person Hudson and Ellis are two different person, uh, and another person known as what we say Campbell. The trio of these three persons were able to destabilize the Tamilian or the South Indian culture. Hudson and Ellis tried to separate or decouple the South Indian languages from the mainland India, that is Sanskrit, and Campbell was uh, succeeded in inventing a mythical race known as Dravidians, that those who are non-Aryans are known as Dravidians, etc. So in today's lecture in today's video we will see that there are two important conspiracies. First is using this Hudson, Campbell and Ellis theory, a conspiracy theory was born, where it was said that the cunning Brahmins of North India exploited the native Indians, that is the Dravidians, that is the current South Indians, and pushed them to the southern part of India. And in second topic we will see that how they overview of how they destabilized the Tamil tradition and what was their overall strategy. And from next episode we will go into the strategy in details. Okay. So first we will see that how this Caldwell and Campbell and Ellis tried to destabilize the Tamil culture or the South Indian culture. On the one hand, Campbell emphasized Dravidian identity for the purpose of dividing them on pan-India from Hindus. The race theory was born. That means using this by decoupling the languages and projecting that, and using biblical mythology that Dravidians are the sons of Shem, who is the son of Noah, and you know that biblical mythology, Mosaic mythology. So they tried to they succeeded in convincing the South Indians that they were the sons of Shem and they were originally inhabitants of India, while the Aryans, who were sons of Japheth, came, or the sons of Japheth came for to colonize India. They had children with these North Indians who were the sons of Ham, or the local natives, and their children were superior to this, so they tried to pit Dravidians against this. Okay, so his words are: Tamil can disperse with greater part of the whole of its Sanskrit, and by dispersing with it rise to a purer and more refined style. These are his words. Okay, of the entire number of words which are contained in this formula, there is only one which could not be expressed with faultless propriety, in equivalent to pure Davidian origin. That word is a graven image or idol. Both word and thing are foreign to primitive Tamil usages and habits of thought, and were introduced into Tamil country by Brahmins with a Puranic system of the religion and worship of idols. Okay, so this was said by this Caldwell. He said that Tamil did not have its own word or idol, and such words or idol were brought from Sanskrit and ought to be removed. This was this sentence. So how he did that we will see in the next topic, that is destabilizing or de-Indianizing the Tamil traditions. For that I have to show you a very small chart again. Okay, So this is the chart we are seeing, where native Dravidians were influenced by Caldwell and by this theory of cunning Brahmins Aryans were exploited the Dravidians and they pushed them to South India. So this was this and an evangelical mapping of G.U. Pope and another evangelist. So these two theories together led to de-Indianizing of Tamil culture. First is the Thirukural. Okay, in ancient South Indian text, it's an ancient religious South Indian text, Thirukular, which was named by a famous person known as Thiruvallar. Okay, so what they did is, from Robert Caldwell's point of view, nothing. Now see how they are studying this tradition and they are trying to de-Indianize it. Okay, separate it from the Indian context. From Robert Caldwell's point of view, nothing ethical could emerge from Dravidian mind. So this guy thinks that nothing ethical could emerge from Dravidian mind, either by itself or under the influence of Vedic religion. Consequently, he attributed to the Thirukural to Jain influences. That means the Jain texts where their Tirthankars are being glorified. So he appropriated that to Jain theology, where they said that nothing ethical could emerge out of them. So it was necessary to decouple them from Vedas. Okay, so G.U. Pope, another evangelist, maintained that it was Christian influence on Thiruvallar that produced this literary work. Okay, it was means he said meant that Thiruvallar was inspired by Christianity, and that is why he wrote that Thirukural. Christian scholar at his time for the decades rejected this theory. However, it is being revived today by evangelical movements in Tamil Nadu. So if you see Tamil Nadu politics, they will, when you see this left politics, they will try to give context of Thirukural and how Thirukural is great and this is great and that is great, and they will try to revive this G.U. Pope and Robert Caldwell's theory, where they will say that Thiruvallar was inspired by Christianity and thus he gave rise to Thirukural. Okay, so what he did was, they said that this Thirukural was non-Vedic, and they also tried to establish the Jain Dravidianist network, where they tried to appropriate Jain Vedic literature to the Dravidianist Vedic literature, which was not true at that time. Many had rejected, but now they are again trying to revive it. And second is, Thirukural was influenced by Neostrinian Christianity. As I have said that Thirukural Christianity influenced Thiruvallar, and that is why he wrote Thirukural, and nothing ethical would come out from the Vedic context of it. Second is Shaiva Siddhanta, means Shaivas are those people who are the devotees of Lord Shiva. So what the Dravidianist, now let's get this clear, Dravidianist scholars have tried to position Shaiva Siddhanta as something unique to Tamil spirituality. Okay, so in Tamil spirituality, this Shaiva Siddhanta was very unique for them and not linked to Hinduism. Okay, so they are trying to decouple Shaivism from Hinduism, means they are trying to say that Shiva, the Lord Shiva or the devotees of Lord Shiva are not Hindus. They have a distinct religion of their own, that is known as Shaivism, which is absolutely not true. Those who are Hindus or the Indians today are very much clear that was Shiva Hindu god or not. So let's not get into all that again, because that will be a waste of time. Although the traditional works of Shaiva Siddhanta cite the Vedas as their authority, okay, means Shaiva Siddhanta are citing the Vedas as their authority, this is circumvented by conjuring up a separate Tamil spirituality from different paths. As I have said in my overview video, that they tried to decouple Tamil spirituality from Hinduism and give it a Christian context. So this is how they were trying to give. For G.U. Pope and other evangelists, Shaiva Siddhanta is seen as approximation to but not an equal of Christianity. Now you see, that means that Shiva or Shaivism devotee or equal or approximation of Christianity, but they are not equal, but they are inferior to Christianity. So this is how he is trying to give the Christian context. Thus it is to be used that indirect and diluted form of Christianity that works as a stepping stone towards direct and pure Christianity. So he is trying to say that Shiva or the Lord Shiva or Shaivism is a distorted or perverted form of Christianity or impure form of Christianity, and it can be used as stepping stone for the purer form of Christianity. So see how these links are established and how conversions are taking place. Thus it is to be used as an indirect and diluted form of Christianity. As I said, once people are convinced that for many centuries they have practiced the corrupted version of Christianity, it would be easy to upgrade them to accept and contemporary Christianity. That means if you project them Shaivism is corruption of Christianity and it is not the ultimate truth, people will automatically reject Shaivism and go into Christianity. So that is how they try to decouple it. And third is Tamil devotional literature. Same was being done by Tamil devotional literature, a great body of Tamil devotional music and mystical literature composed by devotees and mystics over the periods of time from basis of Tamil spirituality. Though written in Tamil, this literature has a pan-Indian culture. Okay, it means it was linked to overall India, culture of overall India. Thus all 7 hymns written in Tamil speak of Shiva as a living in the Himalayas and even address him as the Arya. Okay, Arya means a person of noble quality or noble character, as we have discussed. Evangelists and Dravidianists fabricated the origins and distorted the interpretation of their context to suit their age. So this is the Shiva Saiva Siddhanta and the Tamil devotional literature was used to establish they are native to Dravidian but unconnected with the rest of India. Means they are a separate entity of its own. Lord Shiva is a base of all Hinduism. So please don't get into all this nonsense or believe in all this nonsense. So unconnected with and approximates to Christian theology, as I have said, they are trying to establish Christianity through this. And second is to now these two are used by today's Christian evangelists to create conversions. This literature is used to create a Dravidian Christian identity where Shivas or the Shaivas, those Tamil devotees who worship Lord Shiva, will be converted into Christianity by this following atrocity literature. Okay, so this was an overview of this strategy. And from tomorrow's video we will go into depth at who said what and what were the words of various Indologists regarding this. So this was it for today, guys. Please enjoy this video and have a nice day.